Former advisor to President Trump, Steve Bannon, surrendered to authorities on Monday. Last week, Bannon was indicted by a federal grand jury for contempt of Congress. Bannon, who failed to comply with subpoenas from the House committee investigating January 6th, will not be detained ahead of trial and will instead be arraigned on Thursday. And Bannon has agreed to weekly check-ins, to surrender his passport, to provide notice of any travel outside the district, and to seek court approval for travel outside the U.S.
Before his court appearance yesterday, Bannon turned himself in at an FBI field office where he was swarmed by media. He had this message for President Biden.
You see these signs right here and the guys over here saying insurrection and all that? That's what this country's about. It's freedom of speech. They got their opinions. We have our opinions. Okay? Hang on. They have their opinions. I'm telling you right now, this is going to be the misdemeanor from hell for Merrick Garland, Nancy Pelosi, and Joe Biden. Joe Biden ordered Merrick Garland to prosecute me from the White House lawn when he got off Marine One.
Team Rising is with us to discuss. The Hill's political reporter Julia Manchester and GOP strategist Malik Abdul. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
And Julia, can you flesh out what Bannon is talking about there with ordering the arrest from Marine One?
Well, I think essentially Steve Bannon is sort of throwing a bit of a bone to his base and tying this directly to the White House, directly to President Biden. This is something that he's repeatedly said. He's repeatedly really put out this kind of rhetoric. And I think through Steve Bannon saying this, through refusing to come to the January 6th committee, this really shows really how tied he is to that Make America Great Again base. So, I don't find this particularly surprising. I don't find that rhetoric surprising. And I think we can expect to see more of it.
Malik, what would we, so he's facing this subpoena. They want, information from him. Congress wants information from him about what went on January 6th. Do you think there's a lot of new information to get out of Bannon at this point? Don't we pretty much understand what went down?
Yeah, I'm one of those very boring people who watched all of the congressional hearings before they actually created the select committee. So there was a lot of information we got from the congressional hearings. And we actually found out that there were failures at every end of government. Even here, I live in Washington, D.C. There were failures even with our own Metropolitan Police Department, our mayor, who actually came out and, requested unarmed National Guard troops. There's a lot of information that we know. I think what this is, particularly with Bannon, if you consider what the FBI said about, I think it was probably back in June or so, where they said that they haven't found any evidence that any person tied to Trump or Donald Trump himself or any member of Congress was actually involved in the planning of this. And I think for those of us who are watching this, yes, of course, we are wondering, well, what are you expecting to get from Steve Bannon? I don't know what they're expecting to get from Steve Bannon. I don't think that we're going to get a lot of new information, but we'll see.
And during his time in front of the cameras, Bannon pointed to the unprecedented voter swing we've been witnessing recently. Let's watch that.
Take their eye off the ball of what we do every day. Okay, we got the Hispanics coming on our side, African Americans coming on our side. We're taking down the Biden regime. Every day, the focus, you got Brahim Ghassan today, you got Dr. Peter Navarro, Captain Bannon. You're going to have Boris Epstein, the whole show. Intense. We got polling out, economic data out, everything. I want you guys to stay focused, stay on message. Remember, signal, not noise. This is all noise, that's signal.
So he's using this opportunity to promote his show, his podcast. According to one of Ryan's latest pieces out of The Intercept, Democrats' elite culture may be causing them to lose touch with voters of all races and ethnic backgrounds. Julia, it seems to me Bannon almost occupies the role of doomsday preacher or cult leader or something who is using his prosecution by the state or how he is being treated by the state, to argue that they're coming for you, they're coming for us, keep the faith, keep fighting. And it almost kind of plays into his victim complex to treat him like this. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think he is using this as a sort of confirmation to tell his base, that Make America Great Again base, or his particular, his viewership, to essentially say, look, I'm an example of someone who is being targeted by the political and legal establishment in America, and really tie that back again to President Trump's original movement that the establishment is rigged against this particular branch of conservatism. He is very much using this to promote his own show, his own messaging. And I think it's almost in a way very convenient for him, because in a way he's able to spin this to make it seem like this is confirming his original message, that everything is essentially biased against him and President Trump.
Yeah, and Malik, I think Julia's right that this is probably great for him on a lot of levels. But fundamentally, shouldn't we insist that lawful subpoenas be followed? Isn't that important to our system of justice and government?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, this is part of the tit for tat, I'll actually say, that you get in politics, because many of us remember the Fast and Furious investigation where Eric Holder was held in contempt of Congress. I know that it was, I think, a Democratic Senate and a Republican House, and that wasn't sent to a grand jury. So in some ways, Bannon does actually have a point. Americans definitely aren't accustomed to seeing members, whether it's a sitting member of a cabinet or others who aren't ignore subpoenas, but also who are actually arrested. And I think that's the different thing with Bannon. But of course, Bannon will be Bannon. So I'm not surprised that he's going to be very bombastic. It's going to be a lot of self-promotion, because that literally is who Steve Bannon is. But I think he actually raised some very good points about those numbers when it comes to the vote share that Republicans got, because it was on this show back in May where you guys actually did a deep dive for talking about the actual numbers that actually showed that Donald Trump improved in every group except, ironically, white men. So Bannon does have a point. I'm just not sure that he's the best person to be out there advocating for this particular line.
Yeah, it does raise an interesting question. If a Republican Congress holds somebody in contempt, does Merrick Garland in 2024 or 2023 have to go out and arrest them? That will be interesting, and we'll have you guys back on to talk about it, no doubt. Julia, Malik, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we will have more Rising right after this.